numbers seem to have leveled out a bit. Zoe, do you think we're good to kick off? Great, excellent. All right. Well, thank you to everybody for joining us this evening. My name is Sophie Buchanan. I am an independent facilitator from an organisation called RPS. We've been engaged by VPA to support a series of conversations, including this one here tonight, between you and the VPA about tonight's focus is on the Chadstone Activity Centre. So firstly, before we kick off in earnest, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people as the traditional owners of the land that I'm meeting you from, which is Melbourne, but I understand obviously that the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung are also the traditional owners of the land that we're talking about today, being Chadstone. I'd like to pay my respects to elders from all nations who might be joining us this evening, as well as the traditional owners of the land that we are meeting from, and to elders past, present, and emerging. Some housekeeping before we get going. I do need to let you know that if you do need captions, they are available to you. You can turn those on in the toolbar at the bottom. If you don't immediately see the toolbar, just sort of move your mouse towards it. It will pop up and you should be able to select your captions. Tonight's session will be recorded. The presentation part of tonight's session will be recorded. Any questions that can't be answered tonight, as well as those that can, will be captured in a separate document. And if we haven't got time to get to all the questions, you will be emailed. If you're identifiable through the details that you use to RSVP, then we'll email your questions directly. Otherwise, there will be a series of questions and answers compiled and sent through to people who registered for tonight's session. You will not be identifiable in tonight's recording. In case you're concerned about that, you may see, for example, that due to the webinar setup that we've selected through Zoom, your cameras and mics are turned off, which means that nobody but us can see whose names are attached to the chat, for example. And the chat function is also disabled. Instead, we are using the question and answer function, which if you have a look down the bottom, it's listed as Q&A. If you click on that, you should be given the opportunity to ask questions. We'll be using an upvoting system tonight. So if there are questions, for example, somebody else asks a question that you're also interested in the answer to, do feel free to upvote it. If we are tight for time and we're struggling to get through all of the content, we will be focusing on the questions that have received the most upvotes. So please do use that function to add your endorsement of the need for that question to be answered. Please do feel free to ask your questions as we work through the presentation. We will answer all the questions at the end, but if it occurs to you on the way through, please do feel free to just pop it straight in there. We'll come back to it after the presentation portion of the session. To upvote, you just need to give things a thumbs up. It's a pretty straightforward system. There is also a reaction option that has been enabled for tonight's webinar. Feel free to use that if you like, but essentially we really do want to focus on those questions to make sure that we're giving you all the information that you came here to get. And above all else, we'd invite you please to keep tonight's questions and comments kind and respectful of each other, of course, as well as of our presenters for tonight. So without too much further ado, I am going to just run through what we're going to talk about tonight. Firstly, Zoe, who you can probably see on your screen, is going to tell us a little bit about the Activity Centres program. So we're going to start with the VPA telling you about their draft plans for Chadstone, as well as the Activity Centres program more broadly across Melbourne. We're going to talk about what we heard in an earlier phase of engagement, particularly around Chadstone, as well as what is planned for the Chadstone area in the future. We'll spend some time on what that means for you, as well as articulating some of the ways that you can have your say. So including, obviously, you can ask questions tonight, but in addition to that, there are ways to put your perspective forward as part of the consultation around the Chadstone Activity Centres consultation. And then finally, we'll move into the Q&A, and that should pretty well take us through to 7 o'clock. So as I said a moment ago, I'm going to introduce you now to Zoe Efron. She's going to run us through the plans for Chadstone. Zoe, do you want to take the mic?
Hello, yes, thank you, Sophie. Hi, everyone. So, my name is Zoe. I'm on the communications and engagement team at the Victorian Planning Authority, and I'm joined here tonight by Julia, who is the strategic planning manager for the Chadstone Activity Centre, who will help answer some of your questions after I first tell you a little bit about our plans for Chadstone. So, first of all, about the Activity Centre program as a whole. We want to provide all Victorians with the choice of a well-designed home at an affordable price and in a place where they can thrive. And right across Victoria, not enough people have the chance to afford a home that is close to the people and places that they love. We believe that this isn't good enough and that the status quo is not an option. So in September last year, the Victorian government released Victoria's Housing Statement, which is a bold plan to tackle Victoria's housing crisis. There are 39 different initiatives in the housing statement, and the Activity Centres program is one of them. This initiative is about building a future where every Victorian can afford a home that is right for them. And making sure that new homes are well located will allow us to maximise use of existing infrastructure and transport. So the starting point is to look for places where more homes can be built and the types of homes we need to suit all types of Victorians in all types of places. So the role of the Activity Centres program is to enable 60,000 homes to be built close to services, jobs and transport in an initial 10 activity centres across Melbourne. It's about guiding investment in the things that growing communities need, like improved streets, parks and community infrastructure, as well as creating clearer rules about the types of new development that we need. We want this program to provide increased certainty to the community about what kinds of new development to expect in your area, and also to develop a process for creating clearer and simpler planning rules that can be rolled out across all of the activity centres across Melbourne. So what is an activity centre? Well, there are more than 130 different activity centres across metropolitan Melbourne, and they range in size and service offering. They're great places for more homes because they have a concentration of services, jobs, and/or transport. The Activity Centres program will deliver plans for an initial 10 of these 130 in 2024. Activity centres are great places for more housing, but they're so much more than that. They're vibrant places where people shop and work and connect with friends and family, as well as live. And they're ideal places to access your essential daily needs. They range in size from local small neighbourhood shopping strips to centres with universities or major shopping malls. The initial 10 centres represent a range of activity centres of different sizes and service offerings, as well as different locations spread across Melbourne's inner, middle, and outer suburbs. Chadstone is one of our 10 initial activity centres because we know that this area is a great place to live. It's home to the largest shopping centre in Australia, where people come from all over Melbourne, Victoria, and beyond to access the shops, dining, and entertainment that Chadstone has to offer. Chadstone is also a major employment hub, providing thousands of jobs to Melbourne's southeastern suburbs, as well as a major hub that people visit to access their daily needs. So all of these things make the Chadstone Activity Centre and its surrounding area a great location for more homes. Earlier this year, we asked what you love about your local area. Thank you, first of all, to everyone who provided feedback or submitted photos or participated in our community reference group. We heard what you love about the Chadstone area, including being near the shops and services, of course, of Chadstone Shopping Centre. You love the community facilities at Phoenix Park. You love walking your dogs in the local parks, sports reserves, and nature reserves, including the Percy Trevord Memorial Park, the Urban Forest Reserve, and Boyd Park. And you love the leafy, walkable streets, particularly in Hughesdale and Malvern East. You also told us that your major roads, like Dandenong Road and Warragul Road, have the potential to provide more homes and also the potential to be better places. We've used your feedback to make sure that our draft plans for Chadstone respect and strengthen the things that make your area special. We know that a one-size-fits-all approach to planning does not reflect the distinctiveness and local characteristics that make each place unique. So our plans are guided by a vision statement. This is a statement describing the future that we want to see in your neighbourhood. For Chadstone, we want this area to be an exciting, green, and connected place to live, work, and visit that has a thriving local community. New homes will give people, in particular local workers, the opportunity to live close to all the jobs, services, and daily needs of Australia's largest shopping centre. The Dandenong Road section of the precinct will evolve into a boulevard with large new trees and wide footpaths lined with new businesses, shops, and services that face out onto the street. Our plan also sets out objectives. These are the things that we're hoping to achieve through our plans. For Chadstone, it's about delivering between 6,500 and 8,000 new homes by 2051, in particular homes, as I said, for local workers. It's about allowing development between 3 and 12 stories in appropriate places, supporting the delivery of new infrastructure for the Chadstone area, better integrating the Chadstone shopping centre into the surrounding suburb and transport network, improving major roads, respecting local environment and heritage, creating clear and simple planning controls, and supporting the delivery of affordable housing. Our draft plans divide the Chadstone Activity Centre and its surrounds into precincts, as you can see on this map. Each precinct is based on the types of buildings, homes, and businesses that are already there, as well as the types that we want to see in the future. Each precinct has its own distinct set of rules for building heights and setbacks to allow the right types of development in each place. The first precinct is the Chadstone Shopping Centre itself, which has a maximum building height of 12 stories. As locals will know, different parts of Chadstone have been redeveloped many times over the centre's history. By introducing these new rules to allow taller towers within the site, it gives the owners the opportunity to include new homes above the shops and services of the shopping centre if they redevelop parts of the centre in future. Compared to our other precincts, the Chadstone Shopping Centre precinct has extra rules that would require the developer to create a master plan before they can redevelop parts of the sites. This would encourage things like multiple separated buildings instead of one large building on a large site, as well as walking and cycling paths or new outdoor spaces on the ground floor. The area highlighted now is called the Fringe Precinct, which has a maximum building height of 6 stories. This area has a lot of opportunity to provide more housing and develop into an inviting green boulevard precinct. We have proposed a generous 7.6 metre setback on the ground floor. This means any new development here must leave 7.6 metres of open space between the building and the footpath on the service roads, creating green new spaces to plant rows of large trees. Buildings here must also include shops, businesses, or services on the ground floor, which will transform this stretch of Dandenong Road into an inviting, green, and lively precinct. This area is the catchment around the Chadstone Activity Centre. The catchment is the area within walking distance of the local jobs, services, and transport of the activity centre, although it is not part of the activity centre itself. When working out where the catchment should be, we looked at places within roughly 800 metres or roughly a 10-minute walk of the services and jobs of the activity centre. We then excluded areas that are not appropriate to be in the catchment, like places with protected industrial or environmental areas, or places that are on the other side of a boundary like a creek or freeway. Building more homes in the catchment within walking distance of the local jobs, services, and transport of Chadstone is a common sense way to create a more lively, inclusive, and sustainable local community. It will also provide an opportunity for more housing diversity, including high-quality social and affordable housing. Our plans will make sure that we build the right types of homes in the catchment in the places where they fit best. Small apartment buildings between 3 to 6 stories will be built here over time, mixed with townhouses and existing homes. Only the largest blocks of land in the catchment will be able to build up to 5 or 6 stories. Smaller blocks will only be able to build up to 3 to 4 stories, and many homes and buildings may not change at all. But our plans do not just propose new building heights or locations for new homes. We are committed to make sure that the Chadstone area remains a great place to live. So one of the highlights from our plans is controls for better main streets. We want the main streets in all of our activity centres across Melbourne to be safe, inviting, and vibrant. So our draft plans include rules about active frontages. That means on certain streets, new buildings have to have space for shops and businesses on the ground floor with windows that face out onto the streets. This makes our streets feel more safe and inviting, and it creates more places for local businesses to thrive. In the Chadstone Activity Centre, this is particularly relevant along that stretch of Dandenong Road. We also want important places like our main streets and parks to feel sunny and open. Our plans make sure that these important places stay sunny all year round. This is usually achieved using setbacks, so the upper parts of buildings are less visible from the street, which creates streets and parks that are more open to the sky. Our plans set specific requirements to make sure that important places are never in the shade, even on the shortest day of the year when the sun is lowest in the sky. Our plans also protect these places from negative wind impacts from new buildings. Earlier this year, when we asked you which streets, parks, and open spaces are most important to you, we used that feedback to then help shape our plans for which places to protect. Our draft plans protect Trevord Memorial Park, the Chadstone Sports Centre, the Chadstone Tennis Club, Woodlands Park, and many more places. We've also heard from the community that vibrant places with green parks and local community facilities are important to support housing growth. This area already offers a lot of community services and infrastructure, including schools, community centres, and sports facilities, as you can see on this map. But as more people call this area home, we want to make sure the Victorian government and your local council can continue to invest in these things. We're exploring options for a new and simplified approach to funding infrastructure. This new approach could provide direct contributions for councils and for state government to deliver essential infrastructure. We're currently seeking community input on the types of local infrastructure that matter most to you to help us shape what this new funding approach could look like. We have a question about this in our survey on Engage Vic. So if there are any specific upgrades to local infrastructure that you would like to see in your area, please do let us know there. We also want to reduce barriers to building new homes and create more certainty for councils, developers, and the community. Within the Activity Centre, we're introducing a new tool called a Deemed to Comply Standard, which will relate to things like building heights, street wall heights, and setbacks. If a planning application for a new building meets our new Deemed to Comply standards, it will benefit from a streamlined planning approval pathway, which could include the removal of notice and review requirements. If a proposed new development within the Chadstone Activity Centre follows our clear new rules, the council cannot use heights or setbacks as a reason to refuse the development. This provides more certainty and can prevent having to go to VCAT, saving time and money. This streamlined new process is designed to improve investment conditions and get more homes built faster. However, this new process would only apply to the Activity Centre and not to the catchment. In the surrounding catchment area, normal planning processes, including notice and appeal, will still apply. Once our plans are in place, the Chadstone area will slowly change over the next few decades, providing the new homes that we need between now and 2051. We expect larger and unused blocks of land will develop first because they provide the best opportunities to deliver new homes the soonest. But other areas, like streets with lots of existing homes on smaller blocks, will develop more slowly or may experience very little change at all. So what does this mean for you? Well, first and foremost, our new rules do not require anyone who lives or owns property in the area to do anything. Once our plans are in place, landowners in the Chadstone Activity Centre and the catchment will have clear new rules to follow if you want to build new homes on your land. Each landowner can decide if and when they want to build new homes, and if you don't want to change anything on your property, you don't have to. However, landowners will have more opportunities to build more different types of homes on their property if they want to. So over time, you may see more homes being built in your neighbourhood and more people joining your community. In turn, this will mean more customers and opportunities for local businesses and a generally more lively and vibrant community. It also means more Victorians will have the chance to find a home that's right for them. Now, that was a lot of info to cover, but everything I just ran through is also available on Engage Vic, and a recording of my presentation will be made available there as well. Your feedback is important, and now you have the chance to have your say. So once you've read about our draft plans, please visit Engage Vic to complete our survey and share your thoughts. Our survey is open until the end of the day this Sunday, the 29th of September. Once our survey closes, we will analyse the feedback that we've received and use it to finalise our draft plans with the aim to implement them by the end of this year. Back to you, Sophie.